current ones do not. So that we put out a newsletter, Barb sends out a newsletter, it can translate it into 120 different languages. It's one so that the parents will have access to all of their children's information and communication through one site. It also caches those communications. That protects our teachers. It also protects our students. We know that, and some of the greatest vulnerability our students take is when they have a trusted relationship, and there can be grooming situations. We're really working hard to avoid that. So, a text thread between one adult and 20 students, or one coach and 20 can go to 1 to 5, and then 1 to 1, and that is happening more and more, unfortunately. And so this all communications will be required. We have a policy update coming to the board by the start of next school year that will require communication to go through this. That's really important. That's the second piece to this, so that we can funnel all, and it still has texting features, but parents have access to this. So it protects our staff, it protects our students, and it streamlines. And it actually saved money because the cost of this program was much less than all the ones coming. So, all right. Going back to Operation Resource Optimization, I kind of already talked about this. This goes back to what I was telling you about the translation services. It also will create all these different warning information. It updates our intercoms. Interestingly, if we go to a lockdown and we announce it, the teachers will now have panels that they can quickly click. It populates at the district at the school office, so they can know which 3 classrooms did not know that we have an active shooter, or that we're in a lockdown situation, or that there's a tornado, and we can reach out to them and say, hey, we haven't heard from you, is everything okay? So there's a lot of communication improvements. This is all in one big program. So this will all be put in place by the start of school next year. So a couple other things that we've studied, Operation Resource Optimization. So if you're gonna put a disproportionate amount of additional money towards wages and salaries, some of it has to come from somewhere, so that we don't continue to disproportionately increase taxes. So what we've learned is that when it comes to student to teacher ratio, our ratios are pretty low. So in other words, we've got a little room to run. In other words, if you look at here, and these are higher poverty schools. All of these are higher poverty. Higher poverty get federal funds. And so they're allowed to have, but if you look at the school districts that are more like us, right, their ratios are 1 to 15, 1 to 16, 1 to 17. We're 1 to 15. So if we can tweak those ratios a little bit, right, and kind of bring our class size ratios, our student teacher ratios more in line with like districts, we can use those savings to increase wages. Because right now in the past we've had positions that are unfilled, and we need to fill those. To do that, we need to get the money up, but we got to get that money from somewhere. So we're focused on efficiency here. This year we reduced 19. That probably says it here. We reduced 19 positions, which saved us with some other changes about $1.9 million. That didn't count that we eliminated a district position. So about $1.5 million, and $1.5 million is actually gave us enough money to implement our annuity program. So we're really being careful, right? Because when you're leading a district or you're leading a business, additive-based change is easy. It's super easy, right? You say, we're going to add this. We're going to add a new swimming pool. We're going to add a counselor. We're going to add that's great. Subtractive-based change, in which there's give and take, pluses and minuses, it's really tough. And you really have to do a lot of education. So we're doing a little bit of that, because if not, we can't just continuously live in additive-based change. When you only live in additive-based change, in the end, you're bankrupt, or you're deficit spending, and then you got to do drastic things that can hurt education in our case. So we're trying to be really smart about it. A couple more slides and I'm done. This is it. Next steps. 2025-26 is so yesterday. We're pretty well done because, at a large district, it takes a long time to implement, right? So I've basically been wrapping things up with our principals, and we kind of have a game plan. This is part of our game plan for what we've accomplished in 24-25 to get ready for 25-26. So starting last month, I've started soliciting feedback on what it is we need to do to get ready for 26-27. Because I think, this is not a tagline that I'm proud of, not for me. But if you want to make a difference today, you need to be in the classroom. You do. It's the best place to be. Because you can see a student struggling, a student that's needs support, needs wraparound support, and you can fix it. You can see that light bulb. It's the most instantaneously rewarding job there is in our district. If you move to the principal level, right, or assistant principal level, it moves slower. You're just continuously reinforcing, you're working, you're trying to tweak things. The further you get from the classroom, the longer it is to affect change. But that's true with any system, right? We're a large system. So we have to understand that I can't just be issuing edicts and changing things for tomorrow, because it's going to be disruptive and it's not going to be sustainable. So we have to know that our work, the board and myself and the cabinet, is really focused long range. It's visionary work that's changing the system, right? To make sure that it improves. And I told the board, 2 promises I made to you, that I'll leave the place better than I found it, and I'll make sure what we do is sustainable. If not, we're just being disruptive. So we've already started looking forward to 26, 27. I have examples here from different things. This is engaging with some of our staff, our administrators. I have lunch with students every once a month. It's always a highlight. I had lunch today with students. It's always a highlight. I have coffee conversations at every school this year. Tomorrow's my last one, my 30th one of the year. But if you think about our timeline for change, we basically have from now to December to have a game plan for 26, 27. Then we have from January to April to finalize that plan, and then it just cycles. This is my 15th year of being a superintendent, so I've gone through 50 of these cycles. It just seems like there's a cadence to it. I kind of like that. And where are we going? I think that we are having more conversations about how we, in different ways, engage our community, engage our families. We're doing pretty good at engaging our students. We are working on creating greater resources for our families. We're looking at the possibility of a community enrollment center, a resource center for our families. Right now, some of our online ways we do things are inefficient for some of our population. We're preparing to build our first preschool out in 42 that will house 350 to 400 preschool students. That's a long game, because the largest effect size you can have at graduation is having students ready to learn in kindergarten. What does that mean? That means preschool opportunities, and so we know that a lot of our students are not coming ready to learn. So that's our first crack at it. We do have a hope to continue to expand and have more and more early childhood education. Kentucky's one of the few states, so is Indiana, that doesn't fully fund early childhood education, and we need to, because it's one of the largest, best investments we can make. Yeah.
Is that going into the old Kroger?
It is.
I heard rumor that the Boone County Schools was going in there.
Yes, they gave us a reduced sale. I think they prefer a school to be there than maybe another supermarket. So they just went across the street. That's not mine. So, but yeah, it's going right there. We're still working on a few easement issues. I think as of what time did I call? 1:30 today. I think it's worked out. We just have to move the easement. You know, in a parking lot when you're at a big box retailer, there's 2 places you can drive: around the perimeter or right in front. If you drive right in front, you better take a big dose of patience, because there's all these shopping carts coming out. It's like, I always think, how in the world is this safe? So what we have to do, per the Kentucky Department of Education, to have a school there, we have to eliminate that easement, because clearly, if you have a fire trail and you have 300 4-year-olds running out of the building or walking out of the building, worst thing you can have is a freeway there. So those kinds of things. But yeah, that's the location. It'll be there. But there'll still be access. So I said you can still, if you think about it, if you're looking south from Highway 42, there's the old Kroger building, there's the Mexican restaurant, and then there's the Kroger fuel station. So there'll still be access. So you will still be able to eat at the Mexican restaurant and get gas.
Killed it.
Killed it. What about the barber shop?
Or get gas at the Mexican restaurant.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, what?
How long have you been in Boone County?
I've been in Boone County 9 months, 10 months, just moved here.
Yeah.
I moved from Bloomington, Indiana, and I was in Kokomo, Indiana, North Gordon, Indiana, so it's kind of up and down the spine of Indiana, if Indiana has one. But yeah, new. But it's been great. My wife and I, we feel blessed. We are loving the community. We love to be outdoors. We spend a lot of time in the parks that are around here with our dogs. You'll see us. It's already become home. We love it. My wife and I are high school sweethearts, so our family, they both live just near Louisville. It's actually the closest I've been to my family in a long time. My dad's 80, he's a retired teacher, but he still farms. every day. 1,200 head of cattle. I'm trying to get him to cull the herd a little bit. We're having some conversations, but it's not bad. We'll see. Yeah, I grew up. We you'll like this. So we contracted and raised Timothy alfalfa hay mix for the horse industry around Churchill, and we would bale. You remember the old little square bales you would put in barns and let them. We would do 50,000 a year. We would fill like 20 barns. That's where I would spend my summer. Yeah. And then we did 5,000 acres corn, soybean, wheat. And then 1,200 head of cattle. So this is where I grew. That's how I learned how to work. My dad says now I need dirt under my fingernails. He said, you got an office job. Yeah, Gary?
Putting that hay up, so I made my living in this.
And look how you turned out.
Wow.
Sorry.
Jeff, I just first want to say thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight, but I also want to comment that I've had the opportunity to work with these two ladies right here.
No.
I'm always amazed at the kids, their passion for the schools, and you got two MVPs. But I know Karen, but she's.
Yeah, we can't.
I'm talking.
We can't compliment Karen. I'll accept the compliments. Kathy and Barbara.
But I just want to say you're
Oh,
so blessed,
I
in
am.
my opinion, to have these two ladies
I am.
in your corner.
And they're fantastic at what they do.
Yes.
And they give me advice. I mean, I sat down with Kathy today. She came in my office and I wasn't in there because I was told there's donuts in the lounge. And so she just comes in the lounge, didn't it? It's all true.
Yes.
Sits down there, we do some napkin math, we're strategizing. Barbara's in office 2 or 3 times a day, as well as how many other sites. And you're right, they're wise beyond their years.
I get
and they're
summoned
wise.
into the office.
She doesn't get summoned. Are you kidding me? But thank you, Gary. I agree. And you know what? I find that to be true no matter where I am, whichever school it is, no matter the level. We have a lot of hardworking folks that are truly committed to education in Boone County. And that's why we're performing the way we are.
You're very lucky.
They're fantastic. Absolutely. And I'm very lucky to be part of this community. So, any other questions? Yeah.
I just want to compliment you on your 2 high schools that I did exit interviews.
Yeah.
I was so totally impressed with the
Great.
students coming out.
If you don't know now, across our district, we're doing exit interviews. If you've never participated, they're fantastic. Which schools did you do?
I did Ryle and Cooper.
Okay, I did, this year I did Ryle and Boone High School, but they're in all of them, and they're fantastic. They're just a great experience, and I had lunch today, like I said, with students at Ryle. I rotate the schools, I do 10 a year, and I told them, I just sit there and I listen, and I said, we have any doubt about the future generation's leadership. I know it's easy on the news or for people to be poo-pooing them, but they're wise beyond the years. They're smart. They're considerate. I mean, they're brilliant, and they have these. What I find different today is I'm getting more reflective in my time. Is that I a lot of single focuses, whether it was a sport or this or that. Our students, they're so much more well-rounded. I mean, they're in sports, they're in clubs, they're volunteering in philanthropy. They gave me all these examples. They seem to be much more influenced and having the guiding light of religion than many generations past in this community. And I also find that they're invested in the arts. I mean, like I had lunch with a student who said he did soccer and track, I believe, and but he said he just tore an ACL. And he said, so I realized that I need to make sure that it just taught me a lesson that I need to make sure. In addition to all these clubs, and so I taught myself to play the piano. He said, now I'm doing piano. He said, I'm interested in helping with the theater arts. And I mean, they're just going this. I can go countless examples of this where students have so many interests and so many aspirations, but they have these loose couplings of interest in these very diverse sets of topics, and that's where innovation and that's where entrepreneurship happens. And our kids today are very entrepreneurial. We're in good hands. So one of them's gonna take my job, probably soon. Any other questions? Thanks for the time. I really appreciate it. Yeah. We're the same back home in Indiana. Oh, Blue Night's Fair tonight upon the Wabash.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, thanks. There comes the smell of pneumonia.
I just would like to say, as somebody who went on to be superintendent of education for the whole state of Kentucky, I've listened tonight to this gentleman for the first time. And I'll tell you something. We got a prince. We've got a prince
Can you say, now this YouTube channel, my wife can hear you say this? I can't wait to play that part.
It will be on
She's
YouTube.
gonna roll her eyes.
But I really am impressed with not only his knowledge, but the most important thing, his love for the kids.
That's how you learn, that's how you have to sing.
That's how you have to sing. That's right. God bless you.
To our students, well, and God bless you all. Thank you so much. All right. And I'm going to a school play tonight, which starts at 7. So I will stick around. Well, you know, what time is it? Oh, I am close.
1, 2, and 3. Now we have here, of course, Bill DeAndrea, one of the greatest realtors and the greatest educators in Northern Kentucky, and with him, one of the ladies that is one of the greatest educators that's ever walked the floors of Boone County, and she does a wonderful job. Now tell us your name,
Karen Bird.
and how long have you been working with the school system?
I've been a board member for 30 years.
Praise the Lord. I mean to tell you, pass the ammunition of godly principles. We're lucky, and you've done a beautiful job all the time. Bill, I know, is proud of you, and I'm proud of you very
Well,
much.
thank
so.
you. I appreciate that.
Well, God bless you and your work.
God bless you as well.
And thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you, Bill, for inviting me out here.
You're welcome.
You know, I hope I didn't embarrass you.
No, not at all.
I had a good time.
I always love hearing you sing it. I just wonder what some of the other ones think sometimes, but who cares? You didn't take his picture.
I didn't get it. Only 1,000 times. I love you all. Gotta have fun, you know.
Spectacular. How about you?
Hang in there.
called him at Hayes' office today. They asked me if they're gonna be long sleeve shirts. I said,
You bought polos.
Long sleeve shirts for a golfer?
Yeah, we'll
Somebody's
move,
not thinking.
we'll move the avenue to Alaska. Well,
Bueller? I don't think I have anything else other than we gotta start working on a whole sponsors.
right.
Isn't that what it said?
I can't.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bring us 2 ice waters.
Did you get water?
I walked over there and got it.
All right, anything else?
I asked another person to come too, that wanted to join the club. I bet you she doesn't show up, because I email her every week, Jenny Watson. Every week I email,
You do?
or every meeting.
What's she doing these days?
Oh, is she not with you guys anymore?
She resigned in November.
She was the superintendent, wasn't she?
Been putting out that same note, similar note to that list of 30-some people.
Yeah.
And I also had a line last week that says, if you don't want me to bother you anymore, just let me know. I'll pick up this. Nobody said it.
Yeah.
But nobody told us.
I didn't know. She had a name. She was one of the big officers that used to always come. Cause she had what, back then, she had?
She had, yes, she did, and then she became the assistant superintendent.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, fill my, buy my hole.
Huh?
I need to buy a hole.
Got her down. Buy her house.
Yeah, right. You know the whole, we know the routine.
I know the whole, nobody else. All right. Anything
I
else?
invited Karen Boone today too.
Oh, she coming? It's like it's a hard time getting off to work. And getting through the traffic. They voted.
This gentleman down at the end, you know John?
I recognize John, but I don't recognize where.
John Stevens was
Yes.
the Kentucky superintendent of schools, weren't you, John?
I recognized you, but I couldn't figure out where I recognized you from.
The last elected superintendent of the state of Kentucky, and the first person elected to a statewide office from northern Kentucky in 70 years.
Wow.
They were the first one. It was a challenge, took me 3 times.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Well, they have tater tots, they just don't have the appetizer
I used to see you out at the fair a lot.
Yeah. Well, if I get a chance tonight, I don't know who's in charge, but if I get a chance, I'll sing my old Kentucky home for you.
Okay. Didn't you sing that in Special Olympics?
Yeah. Every year for 30-some years. I used to MC the Special Olympics. I'd be singing tomorrow night at the homeless shelter down in Fairhaven. You ever heard of Fairhaven? Rescue Mission. I've been going to that for 30 years, every 4th Friday.
You still singing my old Kentucky home?
Yeah, singing it.
He wants to sing it tonight.
Okay with me.
I'd be happy to sing it for you tonight and film it, and we're gonna put it on YouTube and Facebook.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
You can fill Jeff tonight too.
Yeah, good,
I just got permission.
good.
So you gave me, so you wanna go over
after the pledge, Gary, you wanna do a prayer
What, for
tonight?
No, we'll get one of these two here to do.
Are you doing that now?
No, I'm just trying to line it up.
Hey, Bryce, how are you?
I was pretty good there, I had to walk them all.
There you go.
My back's about down.
Donnie, you wanna say the prayer?
You'll make it.
We'll have our veteran, one of our veterans do the pledge. And then we'll have, after the prayer and the pledge, we'll let John sing My Old Kentucky Home.
Hi there.
Hi, John,
How you doing?
not too good.
Well, we're hanging in there.
Is it the walk?
Hanging in there.
I'm coming next time, I gotta walk out before I go home.
On my way into work west.
You got handicap stickers?
Yep.
Call if you need, I'll move my car and I'll walk it, cause I need the exercise.
I'm not mangled, my neck hurts.
I can't come to the next meeting anyway, I got a procedure at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't think I'll be able to do it after.
You mean, this meeting or the board meeting?
Board meeting.
Oh, okay. The next meeting's gonna be interesting, the regular meeting. We're going to have a forum. I'm bringing a state senator in, and our 3 House of Representatives of Boone County. And I'm gonna let John Schickel ask them questions, what they're doing for business. Well, I got permission from the president to do it. Huh? No, John's always said he's got questions.
Call them.
Part of that group, so that's where they sent me in there.
You think you could talk to the other day?
Going there.
Saturday. The airport. He didn't talk much,
Yeah, the other guy did,
cause, and he can leave,
yeah.
but that's who I wanted to try to put Boo in, and she kept on dodging me.
Oh, Candace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She retired.
Probably get that guy.
I mean, one of the founders of Boone County Visiting Center, Ted Bushman.
Yeah.
They do all the procedures in the basement.
I think I seen the new library down there.
Yeah, I was in it the other day.
Was anybody else?
There was a few, but, are you ready for this? Well, I think Walton's ugly.
Hey,
That building they got in Walton?
what they tore down to build that library right there at Depot Street had been the Opera House back in the 20s.
That's gone, it's no longer in use, they got a new one,
Where's this one at?
next to Kroger's,
Behind Kroger.
Oh,
on the side of Kroger's.
Hey, you think the one on 18th, the last one, wait till you see this one.
But, if you ever need to make banners, $18 to make a banner.
But the problem is, you guys remember when Bush pushed for that they had to cut back on their, how much revenue they were bringing in every year? You know, they cut the tax rate back to 4%, but every year it goes up. It automatically goes up every year.
they had.
And, they keep building because they got so much money.
The library?
Yeah.
They can't build us one.
Well, they supposed to be lining it up to do it.
We're the oldest
I know.
library in the city. Hebron's had 2. And look how much money
But that
from the
one was
city.
wanted. Hey, I sold it. I asked them to do the dog salad night.
I wonder if we could get much.
Well,
Call him up, John.
But who do they just have problems with? Everybody would be nice. Hey, Kevin.
Well, there's a good man
Hey,
right
Kevin,
there.
I gave you five, I
Nice to
gave
see
two of
you.
your
God
flyers
bless
out.
you.
God bless you too.
I gave two of your flyers out.
Oh, good.
How's everybody doing?
Fine,
How was your Easter
I
service?
haven't seen you.
I know, it's been forever.
How was your Easter service?
Packed house.
I'll tell you what, I was,
You know, the letdown's the next time.
I get around, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a 10:30 mass and I couldn't believe, you used to be able to almost shoot a cannon through the church and there wasn't a few open at our Easter.
How was it the next week?
Huh?
It's coming up, so.
Well, you were there. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe how packed.
Plenty of seats this week. That's what I'm saying. Worst Sunday ever bad.
Hey, Kevin, since we're not in any kind of meeting yet, how did your thing go about sex trafficking?
Oh, okay.
You don't-
Did anybody hear me? I guess.
No, I couldn't.
Okay.
How did that go?
Well, I mean,
You had it at your church?
well, I mean, no, it was at Main Street Baptist.
Okay.
Much larger church. It went very well. It was very, very well attended. We could use more men there, mostly females, but, we're talking close to 200 people, I guess, in there for a Saturday. I don't think it was too bad.
I had a family problem, I couldn't go, I was getting ready to.
Was there any?
But we had 8 breakouts, you had 3 shots at the 8, and they were all very, very well attended. We talked about both international and domestic, and I mean, you just had to be there. About every topic you could think of was covered.
Was there anything decided about what can be done, what can we do to help, on a local level? I mean,
Well, if you see something, say something.
right, I get that.
Yeah. If you see something out of the ordinary, I mean, they were just telling us things to look for, like the airports, the malls, things that are, if it looks like she doesn't belong with him, or he doesn't belong with them, look at the eyes of the kid and see if they're trying to communicate with you. If it looks out of the ordinary, use your common sense, never approach, get mall security or airport security and just get it checked out, Their thing was, if it's nothing, then no harm, no foul. If it is something, then, check
Is
it
there
out.
any kind of local law enforcement that has a task force associated with this? Or
Well,
do you go to
Detective
FBI
Figgins
level?
was there, and he was talking about what a lot of things they're looking at right now is these massage parlors. There's one over now in Vancouver specifically that they think is right.
Well, they're like whack-a-mole, because they'll close down
Yeah.
on the same shop and set up down the street, it's the same.
Oh, I know. And then when they, a lot of times they get wind of it somehow, or see them coming, and it's clean as whistles when they get in there. I mean, so, they talked a lot about the international, which is very, very sad. They're talking about up to 1 million now in this last administration. I'm not gonna get political, I'm just gonna state the way it is. And of those, the vast majority of those children are dead. Probably never gonna be.
It's so nice to see you.
The frustration with the current administration is it should be moving a lot quicker.
How's
than
Brenda
ours
doing?
wants to go back.
Will you tell her I said hello?
Last administration is still.
Huh?
I do remember when.
Tell her I said
Oh, I know.
hello.
I know.
I miss you all.
Well, that might be a good question to bring up.
We're still hanging in there.
I know. I know. I love you.
My leg is back, don't agree with me.
But in my subdivision at Glenhurst, just recently, there's been a couple of close, calls where vans have rolled up and the kids are playing out back and they're trying to snatch them. And, I'm not trying to be discriminatory or anything, but they were Latin and, that's the cartel. If you do lose them, man, the odds of you seeing them again are not good. They got a network.
He's all pepper Donnie?
And, the amount of rich people that are being fed these kids,
Okay.
that are
Now we're trying to take an answer.
not only of means, but of famous. That needs to be, I don't care who they are, they need to be arrested. And I think hesitancy
Hello.
because it's been so important.
We need vigilantes back.
And that's where it's like, well, yeah, we stay here. Oh, well, you're telling me, that's not the frustration.
I think we need the vigilantes back.
Well,
Yes.
I don't know if I've met you.
there's a lot of different methods that used to be used.
I've got to get people together.
John
You're
Stephenson.
probably
It's nice to meet
looking
you.
at
It's very nice
I
to
mean,
meet you,
it-
John. My name's Barbara Brady.
Yeah,
It was a very tiring day because of the.
Yeah, I got this all.
But it was a very good day.
Okay.
A lot of things were learned, that the one detective, I mean, he was very good, he just told you, laid it all out. You know, a lot of, the problem is, the sad part is, a lot of these kids are dead. They're no longer with us, and we can't save them. And they also went into how they did it. I'm fully convinced our federal government got their cut like everybody else. And these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations were providing transportation. And a lot of people are in on it.
Girls on TV now, sir.
Oh.
I wish they would come out with
Who's the dollar to be made, somebody can be in on it.
But until we get actual facts of who they are, it's all hearsay.
You'll never find it out.
That's the scary part.
You never
We do
find
wanna
it out.
make it an annual event. We decided that, we wanna make it a year.
What's up? How's everyone? How's the closing?
Close.
We
That's
did,
amazing.
we're completely out of it, we didn't print it, honestly, we didn't anticipate the crowd, which is a good thing.
Yes.
But most of our handouts are just about the school. And, 3 of the speakers were.
I just looked down
what
at a whole
happened.
bunch of dots. That was a joke. Oh,
Curious to get
I had to
some information out.
do like a softball.
Yes. Let me,
Something happened, I had to change
committee
it.
met last night, so
That's always something.
Think about it.
I can get it to Linda and then I can get it.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, once a year, it's just whatever your computer does, whatever the thing does.
Well,
My wife
I
went
didn't
to
hear
the,
you said it, but it's sprinkling on
he
me.
was a job
Yeah,
today.
did she?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. This is
Pretty well attended.
good. I don't know, I didn't get there.
You didn't?
I thought about one for me.
She,
Okay.
she wants to do preschool.
That's a
I would be a bus driver
Yeah.
today, if they didn't cut it down.
Yeah, it was.
They wanted to trade Vietnam. I said, "Let's put real estate down."
Oh, yeah, well,
I used to go in at
You need
6 o'clock.
4 or 5
That's
more
cool.
things going on.
Oh, no, we don't come until 9. That's your one.
anybody else? Where is that? Is that the, Gary, is that the Thursday night deal? Pardon?
Oh, I'm not as good looking as her.
Oh, you saving that for,
For Bridget. Well, Bridget shows up.
I can't help it.
He wants Bridget.
Well, I can't help it if she wants to sit next to me every time.
Last chair available. Did you bring any more of those?
I'm sorry.
Last chair open. I wanna add two.
Anyway, you look at it, it's better than.
are you doing okay?
I'm doing well, my friend. You doing okay?
I'm pretty good for an old country boy.
Sure good to see you.
Yeah,
Glad
this
you're
is a
here.
Businessmen's association.
Yeah.
And I tell you what I'd like to do. They've asked me to signal Kentucky home. I said, fine, I could do that. But I like to hire stuff for people on my YouTube channel and on Facebook.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I've got 5,000 friends. I'd like to go around the room, just ask everybody their name and what kind of business they're in.
Just do whatever it is you want to do.
And film it, put it on
Sure.
YouTube and Facebook.
I'm sure nobody will care.
Okay. About how long would it be before they start?
The meeting starts at 6.
If she comes back for.
Can I give anybody anything?
You okay? Sweet tea?
Take a diet.
He would not do it.
Guys, Mountain Dew?
That's a Pepsi there.
And I'll take a Pepsi here.
Pepsi?
Diet,
Take
diet.
a Diet Coke.
Okay.
And spaghetti dinner.
Alrighty.
Diet Pepsi.
I can go ahead and take
Oh.
your glass for you.
So 2 Diet Pepsi, regular Pepsi, Diet Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew. Got it.
Who's in charge right now, Bill? Who's in charge right now?
That's Dave Stein today.
Oh, Dave, how you doing? Come on over here a second. John Stephenson.
John Stephenson,
I used to be
yes.
superintendent of education for the
Yes,
state of Kentucky.
okay, there you go,
But
yes.
now I have my own YouTube channel and Facebook page with 5,000 friends. But what I wanted to do, Bill, is, I told you to sing Old Kentucky Home in the opening, but now I want to do to promote the Business Friends Association. If you don't mind, before the meeting starts, I'll just go around the room and ask everybody their name and what business there are.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I do that?
You have the floor, sir.
Okay.
You are a legend, so you have the floor.
Hey, there he is. Always a pleasure to see you. I went ahead and.
These are some, Easter, I had to, family.
Yeah. But he was introduced you to John Stephenson.
John's pleasure.
He was the last
Jeff House.
Kentucky Superintendent
Of education.
of Education
State
in
of
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
The last?
The last elected one, 1992.
Oh, and then we moved to appointed. Okay.
But I was also the first person elected to a statewide office from Northern Kentucky in over 70 years.
Congratulations, I
I'm
like
looking
it.
forward to hearing from you tonight,
Well-
and I'm gonna film this and put it on my YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Film away. Film away. Are you, so 1992?
I'm old, in 1981.
Indiana used to have elected, and we moved to appointed also.
Yeah.
About, but not very long, 8 years, maybe. How are you doing? Good to see you. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
We didn't know about that.
Don't worry about me.
I don't matter. Go this way. Car show? Okay.
Yes. I may need to know a little bit about that.
Car show?
Sure.
Sure. There's the address. Yeah, about that.
I'm gonna have to try to find it, cause
You couldn't find it yet?
Find your way.
Where you want to?
Kentucky Drive.
well, I started early, everyone
So now,
Sunday.
There you go.
That
ask
started at
everybody their name and what business they're
That day?
Oh,
Most of them are retired.
no, this is.
Most of them are retired.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
it's supposed to rain, what's today, Saturday, Monday. So the chances of that coming off are kind of slim.
Yeah, they don't like that.
They're gonna charge this time, that's the first time ever.
I can't handle
If I could have your attention for a minute or so before they start the meeting here,
That's the
I'd
important
like to
stuff.
do something unique, if I may. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I was the last elected superintendent of education for the state of Kentucky in 1992. And since then, we've had an appointed one. And I won't say whether we're wise in keeping the appointed ones and not having the elected one, but I will say this. I've learned a lot from having been the elected superintendent of education. But the most important thing I wanted to do tonight, other than sing my Old Kentucky Home for you, is I wanted to go around the room and ask each of you, a lot of you as I know personally and have known for years, at 81 years old, I'm still hanging in there. And so, if you would tell me going around the room so I can post it on Facebook and YouTube, because I want people to know the Boone County Businessmen's Association is an active group of hardworking businessmen in the county, and they represent people from all over northern Kentucky, what's known as the Golden Triangle. I always talk about it a lot. I learned that name from my former boss, Congressman John Breckinridge, when he called it the Golden Triangle of northern Kentucky, Fayette County, Jefferson County, Fayette, Lexington, and Louisville. But most of all, of northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati, because we are a big part of the economic drive of this whole Commonwealth of Kentucky. And our business people are the most important people and groups of people in that area. So start right here with this young man who's known me for probably 30 years, and tell us your name and the business you're in.
lights and sparks, I don't have a business next time.
Well, you're doing
I was in trucking for years.
years,
Years.
okay. And, your wife's name is Brenda, right?
Right.
See, I got a pretty good memory after all, don't I? And next to you is
Gary Jett. In my business, I was a maintenance man.
maintenance man, and right here we have,
Dick Davis.
and Nick, what kind of business, Dick?
I'm out of business.
Okay, well,
Old.
you're old. Well, hey, one, I guess I'm old too. And down next door to you,
Don Davis, I was former county commissioner, and then I got promoted to being a used car salesman at 3 car lots.
fantastic, praise the
Quite
Lord.
a promotion.
And, our president here tonight,
Dave Schneider, I'm with Heritage Bank and also City of Florence City Council.
fantastic, and next to you is
Donnie Martin, I'm with Shepherd Insurance here in Florence.
Shepherd Insurance here in Florence.
I'm Gary Wood, I'm with the City of Florence on City Council.
City council, a great city council,
Thank you.
a great city council, and young lady,
I'm Kathy Rubin, Boone County Schools.
Boone County Schools, Kathy Rubin, and a great worker there for all the students at Boone County High School and all the schools in Boone County.
Thank you.
And next to you is one of my favorite people, he's keeping me alive, you know that, that's Bill DeAndrea, and he keeps me alive. You know, I've been a real estate broker for 52 years, and they named me Realtor Emeritus of America. And I said, goodness gracious, I must be really getting old, I'm gonna retire. Bill said, don't retire, said, just come on and send me some business. Is that right, Bill?
That's right.
Bill DeAndrea.
I help John out as much as I can.
He keeps me alive, Mr. Superintendent down here.
That's good, that's important.
And, come right here,
Mike Huron, retired.
retired, and this young lady here, I saw her working around here with the TV channels and the stations. What's your name?
Barbara Brady, Boone County Schools.
Barbara Brady, Boone County Schools. You must have something to do with technology then.
Everything, communication, marketing, everything. She keeps me looking good.
Well, I appreciate that. In today's world, we need that, don't we? Well, and I'm John Stephenson. I already told you a little bit about me, but the smartest move I ever made was my wife, June Guyman Stephenson. Now, she happens to be from Campbell County, but every time you turn a rock over in Campbell County, you find another Guyman diamond. She was one of 9 children. So I did well when I married her. I thought, boy, just think of the boat she could get.
Right?
Well, God bless you, and I look forward to your meeting starting, and I get a chance to sing my old Kentucky home for you. I have sung it in every county in the state of Kentucky. If you haven't been out on my YouTube site, it's called Travels with Dr. John Stephenson. You can see the history of all 120 counties and the overall history by Dr. Thomas Clark, who was a great historian and my teacher, believe it or not, many years ago at the University of Kentucky. I'm so thrilled that we have the Northern Kentucky University, and I'm proud to be one of the people that started that with over 3,000 signatures gathered when I was president of student government in 1968, and Phil King, the state representative in Kenton County, and the Boone County folks, and the Campbell County folks, Art Schmidt, with Governor Louis Nunn, signed the first authorization for the 4-year college to start. And I was proud to be a part of that, gathering 3,000 signatures. God bless you all, and I look forward to being called upon to sing my old Kentucky home, and now I'll sit down and behave myself. And I'll turn the camera off for right now. Fantastic. Was that okay, fellas?
That was wonderful.
And we can catch this on your YouTube?
You can see this on YouTube, and you can see it on Facebook, and you can see all my other videos. I've done thousands of them. In fact, that filming of the history of the counties, all the counties, after my wife and I did that, we donated a set to every county library in the state. And then we had it on public access television for many years. But now the teachers can actually go out on YouTube, and they can get both my Santa Claus Education Series shows and my Santa Claus Entertainment shows for teaching children. And they can see the history out there of all the counties, and they can see our trip through 8 countries in Europe, including 2 communist bloc countries before the Iron Curtain came down. So there's a lot to be seen there and learned by young folks. And just remember, it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict, it's God's job to judge, it's my job to love. And that's what an educator is all about, is love. Love.
I like that.
I'll try to sit down now without killing myself.
Be careful.
All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting here for the general meeting for the Boone County Business Association. We'll start with a prayer, and I understand Donnie Martin's gonna bless us with prayer.
Lord, we thank you for this meal and the opportunity to gather together. May this food nourish our bodies and our minds, and may our conversations be forthcoming and doing God's work in our community. We pray for productive meetings. We hope that we can help people out through our gathering and our coming together. And we hope for healthy way home this evening and little in the storm department. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. If everybody would stand. I believe we're going to have the veterans, start the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And should we remain standing for the singing of My Old Kentucky Hope?
Mr. Superintendent, hold on to that for a second.
Does that mean film me?
All you gotta do is point it out, it's already running. I sing this song from my heart because Happy Chandler poked me on the chest when he came up to Northern Kentucky University, and I said, "Sir, teach me how to sing this song, My Old Kentucky Home." And he said, "Son," about knocked me down. He said, "Son, I'll teach you how to sing it, but you gotta sing it from your heart." Well, you're gonna get it today from my heart, because that's the only way I can sing it. And just remember this: red, yellow, brown, black, or white, we're all precious in Jesus' sight, all of us. And it goes like this. Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children at play, the corn tops ripe and the meadows are in bloom, and the birds make music all the day. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away. Now, before I sing the last verse, let me remind you of something that Billy Graham taught me many years ago in George Beverly Shea, down in 1956 in Louisville, Kentucky. Taken down there by 4 deacons, Walter Roden, John Griselle, Vernon Likens, and Carl Covey, Brother Kerger and his wife Polly, and Reverend Foley. You might remember some of those names. They took us down there on an old rickety church bus, and there I met Billy Graham for the first time. My best friend was out in the audience, and I didn't even know it. And you know what he was? Some of you might remember the name, Gil Hammond. He was a teacher at Beechwood High School for 10 years in science and chemistry. And he became later the UNISERV director for the Kentucky Education Association, and was probably responsible for me receiving the award as the outstanding, not teacher in the state, but the outstanding citizen in the state, promoting public education. I was very proud to get that from Kentucky Education Association. Billy Graham taught me the lesson of my little sister Judy when we gave our lives to the Lord. He poked me on the chest and he said, "Johnny, it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict. It's God's job to judge. It's your job, my job, Judy's job to love." And that's what I've tried to give, is love to everybody I've come across in my life. And the rest of the song goes like this. Oh, the children roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by hard times comes a knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home says good night. Weep, join in with me now. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away, for my old Kentucky home, far, far, far away. God bless America, God bless bless Kentucky, and God bless Boone County Business Association and our new superintendent in Boone County Schools. Praise the Lord and bless the ammunition.
Lord, I love it.
Wonderful.
my.
And thank you.
I think
Bill
that may be
Andrew for inviting me.
a first. We can chalk that up. We've now had the Old Kentucky Home here at our meeting, so perfect. Well, thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing your talent and your time. Appreciate it. Bill, I'll let you take over from here and introduce our guest speaker.
Well, you know, I've gone through 3 superintendents at Boone County Schools that I know. But this last one that I invited to the meeting today, I was so impressed with at Potter's Ranch that he was out there for the kids, getting their dishes. What else? You want some more chicken nuggets? You want this? He was busting the tables. Our other 2 superintendents, not taking, I love them both, but they just sat down. So, with that, I have asked Bob if we could have a guest, have him, the superintendent of Boone County Schools, to come and talk, and she have definitely set it up, and it's my honor to, I'm gonna mess it up, Jeff Housewall.
I know it's perfect.
Okay.
Exactly right. Perfect. I appreciate that. I don't know. I'll stand just out of respect, but I don't want to lecture. So no, I just don't want to lecture. I feel like I don't want to be. But it's hard to follow. I mean, a former superintendent, state superintendent that can sing the state song with that sort of not only love and passion, but with that deep, is that baritone voice? What would you?
Baritone?
Yeah. So I'm not even gonna try. I don't know that I want to follow. I feel like, especially as you wax so poetically about the state, the importance of education. I feel like my work is done here. So I don't know what to say. I'll tell you a story, because I got a lot of stories, a few stories, not as many. But so I grew up in southern Indiana, near the banks of the Ohio River. And so I have been a Hoosier the first 50 years of my life. So I'm 1 year as a proud Kentuckian. But I'm proud. So I didn't say Wildcat. I said Kentuckian. There's a difference in my book. But I was a Hoosier, like both the mascot and the state. Whereas here, you Kentuckians and Wildcats, and I feel like I could be one before the other, maybe. So we'll see. But and then I've always loved. I think Stephen Foster wrote maybe 3 state songs, right? So I know one of them is here, and we have my Back Home in Indiana, which is a little more of a jazzy version. It's nothing. I told Cassie, I said when I interviewed for the job, she said, "Well, how are you gonna prepare?" I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna tell who I am. And I'm going to listen and interview them and see if it's a good fit. But I said, if it is, they got a better state song. They do. They got a better state song. And I said they've got the rolling hills. They've got a place that deeply loves the outdoors, and it's steeped in traditions in Kentucky. And I said, and that's important. And you spoke to those, and it is. I can kind of sing Back Home in Indiana, but it's different. It has a different feel. I remember when growing up in southern Indiana, I can remember they had a little town square. I grew up in Corydon on a farm. They had a little town square with a little gazebo, and they'd have bands on Friday nights. And sometimes I remember that there would be a hello. Now I got a feet of 45. One of my bosses is here, so I remember that they would be sometimes they played bluegrass, and when they played bluegrass, and I've always loved bluegrass, they would play My Old Kentucky Home, and they'd say, if we're a bluegrass band, we always play My Old Kentucky Home last, and if you're from Kentucky, you need to stand. And so even then I thought, one of these days I'm gonna make it south or actually I guess I moved northeast to Kentucky, but nonetheless, it's a blessing to be in Kentucky and to be part of your group, and really just the profound appreciation people in Kentucky have for public education, and the importance it plays in this state is something to be noted and really respected. So I want this to be a conversation. If you have questions, far be it from me. I don't want to lecture. I do have a few updates of things that we're doing, but a conversation is better. Barb said 2 hours, but give 10 minutes for questions. I don't know if that's true, or if I misheard that. 3 hours. Oh, thank you. I got another hour.
There's no.
No, I will not just droll on forever. So I've been working on. They say that when you have the opportunity to serve a new community, you don't bring a blueprint, right? You don't come with solutions. You come with an open mind. You really spend a lot of time engaging with people, board staff, families, students, and then you come to understand the challenges and the opportunities, and then you create a blueprint. We may have a toolkit and strategies and solutions, things that I've done before, things I've never done before, but you're really just bringing with you a process. And so every place looks different, every place is unique, and I think that's really important. And so I've really spent the first 6 to 9 months, I feel, listening and really getting a good pulse for what we are. And that's important because not only do you learn the challenges, you also know what we do well, and you don't mess it up, right? Don't get in the way. Don't make it worse. And so you come to identify what are the things that we need to improve on. You really work in collaboration with the board and with your district staff. I mean, I'm like this middleman, right? I got the board, and I got my cabinet and principals, and that's kind of the world I live in. But I feel as though we're getting to a place now where it's time to say, well, what have we done, right? And what have we done this year, and how is it going to look different next year? Because we also know that while it's very important to be in that feedback loop, at some point that has to result in action. It has to result in doing something. Oh, I just went. Of course, right when I go and look at the PowerPoint slide.
I didn't do it.
Was it you? Well, I can bust the tables one way. Right? So, and HDMI 2, I'm not sure. There it is. So anyway, I can tell you what I was going to tell you. So, I am not a golfer. So I have golfed on occasion.
Now, that's a good picture, Mark.
Yeah, I've golfed on occasion, but I'm not a golfer. My farm growing up was next to a golf course. So there you go. That's my connection. So
One thing I would like to say, we as Business Association appreciated you being there last year.
Oh, I loved it. It was fantastic. Great event. And I'll be there again. I'll make sure I get on my schedule. It was a great event. And I will say that I had the opportunity to speak for a lot of groups. But what I will say is that you are such an important organization because of your commitment to giving back to the community and to our students. It makes a difference. What you do and the work you do and how you raise money, but most importantly, how you spend that money, it shows that, coming back to your point, and how important our children are. And you show them love, and you do that with the way you take care of them and you give back to them. And it was such a Kathy said when I first came, don't miss Potter's Ranch. It's one of the best nights. You're going to love it. And she was right. And I did. So let me give you a few updates. Interrupt, ask questions, whatever you need to know. I'm working on a comprehensive community update at the May board meeting. It's going to have, I've identified 18 major accomplishments that we've done this year. So we're going to highlight those. We're going to talk about some of the why, create that public record. I just pulled a few of them out tonight. We're not going to go through all of them. But the reality is the state kind of wants you to do a capstone, and that seems a bit, I don't know. I feel like we should just say this is what we did and just focus on that and focus on our accomplishments. I do have a couple introductory slides. You know who we are. We're pretty much in the blue area. Interestingly, I thought you'd find that we are pushing 21,000 students, and we know that we expect to hit that in the next year or two, especially as we expand pre-K. Some of those numbers aren't in there. Our reach is much broader than just K-12, but 20,600 students. We're the third largest school district in Kentucky, behind, of course, Jefferson and Fayette. Our general fund budget, you know, these are business folks, right? So $293 million. So that's our annual budget, pushing $300 million. So it's quite a responsibility. We really look at our operations in two ways, and we're starting to redo the org chart a little bit and clarify it. You know, we have our learning side, and then we have our safety and operations side. They have to go hand in hand, right? We can't, if we have safe schools with no learning, we have prisons. If we have learning with no safe schools, heaven help us. So that's really how we're clearly dividing this up. We're about the 5th largest employer at NKY. We have 3,700 employees. And then when you look at our students, how it breaks down, I won't read all those to you. We're pushing on 50% free and reduced lunch, 2,000 English learners. That's important. I'll come back to that a little bit later on. So, and also we are one of the highest, if not the highest performing large district in Kentucky. There's recently a national article has picked up a lot of local news sources. We are the only state in Kentucky that is now performing at a level higher than we were before COVID. So at Boone County, we have basically eliminated all learning loss, and we have accelerated learning from 2019 to 2025. And we're the only district in Kentucky that has done that. I've shared with you a few of our graduation rates as 96%. That's important. Our ACT average composite is 19.4. And we continue to see significant growth in language arts and math. So we're performing, and we're performing efficiently. And I'm going to talk about what that means as a taxpayer and as a business person in our results. But the most important data I'll probably point out to you is that for every dollar that's invested in public education, the return on the investment is estimated to be $20. But the other statistic we want to look at is graduation rates. Because for every student that doesn't graduate, the cost to the community is significant, right? It is significant. It can be school to the prison pipeline. It can be the cost for community services. So one of the largest costs communities face are from dropouts. And so the reality is that we're getting a strong majority, one of the highest in the state across the finish line, and we're proud of that. So we have a strategic plan, and it's a little bit of a framework. So world-class education is the learning piece. Empowered workforce is about what we're doing for our staff. Stakeholder engagement and operations and resource optimization. So I'm just going to pick a few quick things here, and then I ask away. And if you have questions as we go, interrupt me, please. I love it. More of a conversation. If not, I'm going to have Karen ask me questions throughout so that somebody is at, because she doesn't mind doing it. That's what I've been told.
Not at all.
What? So I once knew a shy person. It was not Karen. Okay. So most importantly, when it comes to world-class education and really advancing it, something that I have learned that we are really tackling this year is that we did not really have a system. We had a system of schools, not a school system. And that's significant. And you can say, what is all this gobbledygook up here? The reality is we've just created a timeline by which we are going to teach the same curriculum in math and language arts. It doesn't seem like rocket science to me, but we had any times upward of 10 different curricula we would use for language arts and 8 for math. And the problem with that is we know that we have mobility intra-school between our schools. We have students moving. And when they move from one school to another, and we're teaching a completely different way, completely different order of things, we have a much more learning loss. And so because our students, we may have students attending 3 or 4 schools in a year, there's just some basic things we're trying to make uniform as a system. It also saves us a lot of money because we have purchasing power. So imagine that the student that attends 4 elementary schools in a year with 4 different language arts curricula, the taxpayers and the school district has to pay more than $100 for each of those language arts, right? They're only using one of them at a time. But the reality is when they move, we have to provide them the new resource. So if we have a shared resources, it really makes us more efficient, saves money. And it's not just about that. Let's be clear. it is important that we are good fiscal stewards, but more important is that we're creating learning structures for all of our students, so that when they go from one school to another, they're like, oh my gosh, where am I? There's some things we can't control, right, when they move from Ohio to here or something like that. But nonetheless, we are making this uniform, and we've created a 4-year timeline to do that, and that's significant. Because we've never done that in Boone County. Yeah?
I guess I just have a little question when you were talking about your reading and your math.
Yep.
Not, and maybe Kevin brought me up, called me one day and asked me a question, and I started looking into some things, and I saw where 2 of your schools, elementary schools, excelled in math. And I, by chance, knew the principal of one of the elementary schools. And I said, congratulations. She said, why? They just took it away from me. Made no sense to me. When they were the highest 2 schools.
In math?
In math.
Well, if you go back on I don't know if you can go back space, we haven't, I'm not sure what that is, because we haven't even adopted a common math curriculum yet. So we're just, I don't quite understand where that came from, because they all are still across the board. And what I will say though is, and please don't tell me who it was or what school, but what I will tell you is that here's what we know to be true. The scores most closely correlate with poverty, and the lower the poverty, the higher the performance rates. And what happens is that sometimes when we switch a curriculum in a low poverty school, so a school like Man Elementary School, for example, okay, when we and we switch the curriculum, the scores, there's hardly any implementation, maybe a little bit. But when we uniform the curriculum of language arts in our high poverty schools, and for our students of high poverty, the scores go up significantly. So the overall effect is positive. And yes, there are growing pains, but what we know to be true is that with our lower poverty schools, our wealthier families, and our lower poverty families and schools, right, those changes have very minimal impact on them. What it does is, but on the flip side, it has a significant impact for our families of high poverty. So it overall increases our scores. And so yeah, it is that we could continue to do this. It costs more, but overall it produces lower results. It doesn't mean that at a school like Man Elementary School, I'm just giving a name, you can pick New Haven, that it isn't, they're fine where they are. But the problem is a high poverty student that has there's chosen mobility and there's forced mobility. Chosen mobility is when your family says, oh, we're gonna select to buy a new home, we're gonna move to another. Forced mobility is when students the families aren't paying the rent, they are forced to move, and they move from one place to another, and they're going to all these different schools. And those are the students that we are working hard to get to not drop out of high school, so it doesn't create a burden. We're increasing that graduation rate. And when that happens, one of the easiest things to do is have certain systems pieces, right? So they're not like, oh, well, I was learning this type of math and now I'm learning something completely different. Having some basic curricula together. So you're right. I mean, the reality is doing that for a school that's already high performing is not going to, it's not going to drop their scores, but it's going to increase others. So that's kind of the counter to that. Yeah.
Are they still pushing the newer math?
No.
2 plus 2 equals 4?
2 plus 2 equals 4 today. That's right. And 4 plus 4 equals 9. And we're really trying to, in all seriousness, I mean, I back in the days, I was a math teacher, by the way.
From what I understand, the fact that you had the process right, the fact that you got 9 out of that, you still got credit?
If you get 9 out of it, well, it depends who's evaluating me. I hope that you don't. So, But I was a former math teacher, but I didn't tell you my whole story, but I always wanted to teach math, and I did, and then I got talked into going to administration. But my dad was a science teacher his whole life, and I love teaching. So, all right, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to keep going because I'll stay as long as you want. So the next thing that we're doing is, this goes back, if you remember, we talked about the fact that we have 2,000 English learners in our district, so 10%. Now we have some schools in which it's much, much higher. We go into schools and do what we call a takeover. I make the cabinet. Kathy knows this. We go into a school and we alleviate the office and the principal and the counselors. And we buy them lunch. They do some training, and it just reminds them that we can do this, right? Kind of like you were talking about busting tables. I can do lunch duty. I can answer the phones at the front desk. It's good for us once a month. But you know, I was at one of our schools, and one of the teachers had an impact, a profound impact. Teacher came up to me, and she just looked frazzled. I said, "Bring him in." I said, "I was doing lunch duty at this elementary school," and she said, "Dr. It's challenging this year." She said, "Of my 20 students, 9 of them do not speak English. There's 5 different languages," and she said, I can't even. I mean, they're all, no wonder they're bored. They're all over the place. It's difficult for me, and we don't have people speak all the languages. I mean, we have languages that are coming in, like Chuckese. Have you guys heard of Chuckese? It's a language that we're getting in where we really have no translators for. Chukka is the 2nd largest island in Micronesia, and they speak Chuckese. We know that through the immersive learning experience, they are going to learn English. They're going to learn English on the playground. They're going to learn English in the cafeteria with their friends. They're going to learn English, and they're learning it. But the problem is, the 2 to 3 years it takes to learn it, there's learning loss. Because there's 3 years where they've not learned math, or social studies, or science. I mean, social studies is basic civics. We want them to understand, you know, you're talking about our great country. We want to understand about our country, how it works, why it may be different, and why it's worked for 225 years. And so, almost 250 now, I guess I'm over. I'm a little behind on my math, excuse me. I was a math teacher. So what we're implementing, and the board has graciously agreed to help us with, is we're implementing really the first in the state of Kentucky translators in every classroom next year. So our teachers will have these little devices here. They're lanyards, they hang around their neck, and while they're teaching, these boxes on the wall will translate to every student so that they will be learning in real time. So you say a sentence, you pause. Sentence structures vary by language. So you may that sometimes the direct and the subject and the object are reversed in the order. Adjectives go in different places, but none of they pause and it translates in real time. So that way our students can learn math, social studies, and science in real time while they're learning English with our English learner specialists. It's going to be a game changer for us and really advance those scores. It's the right thing to do. There's also some other benefits. I don't know when you were in school, but at high school you might have taken French or Spanish. I took French. But if you think about that class experience, most likely when you walked into that room, I bet the teacher for about 3 or 4 minutes spoke English. They were setting up the day. Welcome everybody, we're gonna do just a reminder, turn in your assignments. We're gonna be doing this thing. And then they moved into French instruction, Spanish, German, whatever it was. And then at the end of the day, they probably clarified the expectations in English to make sure you knew what was expected. Well, that's where we don't have the ability to do that, right? So they don't have any idea. So they're the discipline issues. They're just sitting there disengaged. This allows us to do that. So this will go in place. And I got to tell you something else. When the alarms go off, back for safety, and we need to, I mean, what do? If you don't speak English, there's alarms going off. Do you get in the corner of the room out of sight of the door because it's an active shooter and we're going on lockdown? Do you go under your desk or to a protected room because there's a tornado? Or do you go outside because there's a fire? Oh my goodness. How do we tell? How do you tell 9 8-year-olds to speak 5 different languages now? This will do it instantly and communicate to them what they need to do in their language. So it's a safety feature. Yeah.
You mentioned that when the kids get there, because they can't speak, there's the language barrier, they lose 2 to 3 years.
They can until they learn English, right?
Do they go to the next class though during that next? I mean, does a 3rd grader go to the 4th grade even though he hasn't learned anything?
So it's an individual decision, but generally they are oftentimes promoted because students should really, you get like 1 retention, and then after that they kind of age, they need to be with their peers to advance. And we are very careful because as we're assessing them in their native language, they're normally not academically delayed. They know the material, right? And they're learning it as they go. So generally that doesn't happen. It can situationally, but then oftentimes when you retain a student, it increases the likelihood they drop out. So we try to keep them with their peers and accelerate and target learning for them, because when we retain them, it's more likely they're going to drop out of school, and we're trying to avoid that. So great question. So anyway, this is the other nice thing about this is it's going to save us some money, because when we have case conferences for special education and the families don't speak English by law, we must have these annual meetings. We have to pull sometimes a Spanish teacher away from the classroom, or we have to pay a very expensive translator. So it'd be more like the United Nations now, where we can have these meetings and translate. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So it's really innovative. It'll all be put in place. All 27 of our schools, we were going to phase it in over 3 years, and the principals were like, well, who are you gonna pick? And so I really appreciated the board's support and said, let's make the investment and do it all at once. So this will be in place. There's another feature to that I'll tell you about later.
What kind of cost involved?
$9 million. $9 million. Made the largest investment I've asked the board to make. However, I'm going to talk about some, what?
Karen said, I didn't think it was that much.
But I'm going to talk about all, that's not the only thing. Here's I will tell you, I'm going to flash forward because Karen's going to say, whoa, just to be clear, that really isn't the cost for the translator. The translation piece doesn't have a lot of cost. We're doing all new infrastructure and wiring in all of our schools, all new speakers, all right, all new digital messaging in our hallways, all new safety features. These lanyards that you see here, I'll just tell you as a sneak peek. If you squeeze them on the side, emergency alert to the office, no matter where. Playground, classroom, if there's a student with an emotional disability and the teacher's in danger, anything. Emergency response. So what do you put a price tag on that? And so that comes with this. Many of our buildings are starting to age out in the intercom systems. You can't hear them. You just gotta kind of hold a button. So we are replacing all the intercom systems with this new program, and those intercoms cost $50,000 to $75,000 to $100,000 a piece to replace. So we got to do that anyway, and what we're doing is we're connecting that with this new technology. That allows us to you can actually, so imagine in this building, right, you want to announce something in a part of the building, but not the people that are getting ready to hit the golf. So you can target, right? So you can just make an announcement to the first grade hallway. Or if the south hallway, there's a smell coming and you want to make an announcement, don't panic, that's somebody burnt popcorn again. But you don't want to disrupt the whole school. So you've got targeted intercom systems there. There's major safety features there. So when we do need to go on a lockdown, it's clear. The messaging now not only goes through the intercoms, but it goes to every student's device in every language. It goes to the messages in the hallway. They may have clocks on them during the day, but it will say, we are in a lockdown. Go to it, it'll have messaging. So all of these pieces are rolled into that cost. And if you divide that by 27, it's $350,000 a school. So, the reality is that, and we're using some of our non-instructional dollars for that. We have some one-time monies left over. So it's really a good use. I know there's be some shock value with the price, but we always want to be transparent. This is the money. So we can spend that much money on a couple of locker rooms. So we said was, no, let's pause some of those activities and let's spend a year to do something that's going to benefit all 27 of our schools. Okay, gotta keep going. Empowered workforce. This is just an example. We've implemented stay interviews this year. Stay interviews are significant for a business. It costs more to replace an employee than it does to keep them. It does. So the question we were asking is, do we ever ask the people why? I mean, what we do is when someone leaves, they're ready to go. They write this vituperative letter to me and says, I'm leaving and here's why. Right? And it's one perspective. But what about our other 3,700 employees? They're staying, why? And imagine if they had a chance to tell us ahead of time why they were thinking about leaving, and can we make adjustments to that? So we're doing stay interviews, and we've implemented them this year. I did all the stay interviews for people that were in their 25th or 30th year, I can't remember which. And we put these rooms together, and we invite them to the office, and they come on their speed limit years, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And we sit down with them for 30 to 45 minutes, and we just ask them questions and we listen. And then at the end, they get a gift. And this is an example of one of our stay interviews. It's giving us a wealth of data. It's informing our work, and it's hopefully keeping our employees. We want our employees to be, to enjoy their jobs, and if there's something we can do to make their jobs better, more productive, or safer, we need to know. And so it's a great way. So that means they'll get that feedback every year. Karen would have been in the 30-year group this year. Maybe I need to interview you. She's interviewed.
You'll need more than 30 minutes.
Oh. I know that. So anyway, keep going. Another example on our empowered workforce, I'm just picking a few. We really targeted increasing our salaries and wages. We know there's been inflationary pressures the last 2 years. and all of this, and I didn't put this data in here, but we have reduced our tax rate by 2 cents, I believe, on the 100. So we're proud of that this year. But nonetheless, we were able to increase our overall salaries and wages by 7.8% in the last 2 years, 3% this year, 4.8% last year. That is the minimum that we've increased, and that's to us significant given our limited funds. Let me keep going because the next piece goes with this. We increased also beginning employees' salaries and wages this year exponentially. One thing we learned was that while we were doing well at the top, our entry-level wages were not competitive with even other school districts in our region. And we did a study on that. We invested. We wanted to know. And when we took the data to our different stakeholders, there's like, yeah, fix it. And so we were able to increase our beginning teacher pay by an additional $3,000 and our beginning hourly wages by $1 an hour. So what that meant was that took our beginning teacher pay from $46,000 to $50,500 this year. So that makes us much more competitive, one of the highest in the region, if not the. There's another district now that's trying to get to $50,501. That's okay. It's good, healthy competition. But nonetheless, this was a significant step. So we did 2 types of raises. We did ATB across the board, 7.8 over 2 years, 3% this year. But we also disproportionately increased beginning wages. So that's not people like me. That's not people like Kathy. That's people that are just starting, that are telling us stories that said, listen, I wouldn't have car insurance if my parents didn't pay for it. I don't want to live in my parents' house when I'm 28, but I am. And so we're trying to boost that up so that they, and by the way, spending money on them and getting them out of the house, being a first-time home buyer makes a difference in this community because they reinvested. So it was the right thing to do. We actually, when we bargained this year, we have a bargaining process that we have to do. And we actually required 2 beginning teachers to be on that committee because we wanted their voice. Because their voice is a little different than people that are closer to retirement like me. So, last thing I'll say is that we implemented, we're one of the first school districts in Kentucky to have implemented a local annuity program. We know the power of saving for retirement, and I think this is a long game, right? It's 30 years out. In 27 to 30 years, I jokingly said, I had coffee with, coffee at Stevens Elementary this morning with the staff. And at 7:45 this morning, I had a teacher saying it's my 2nd year and was asking me about this. And I told her, I said, someday you're gonna remember this conversation. You're not gonna remember my name, you're not gonna remember anything about me. You're gonna say in 28 years,